Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for coming out to Convergence today. I'm really excited for you guys to listen into the various panels and talks that we have. We have multiple areas at the intersection of crypto and AI. Specifically, we'll have speakers across gaming, companionship, DePIN, IP, art, ZK, and much more. My main goal for Convergence is to showcase that we're at a technological tipping point, and I strongly believe we'll see the emergence of some extremely unique experiments between these two sectors. Wanted to kick things off with my presentation, Endoftheworld.txt, which is effectively a speed run of some of the ideas you'll hear about today. Bear with me, as this was a much larger presentation that I scaled down pretty significantly to fit into this time slot. So we'll be moving pretty fast through some of these ideas. Always happy, though, throughout the day to jam with you guys on any of these topics. So let's dive into it. So AI and crypto. Let's discuss why these two pair well together. Many have pronounced crypto's incursion into the world of AI as unnecessary. I see it, however, as a vital and synergistic relationship. For crypto, AI improves UX, facilitates creative on-chain use cases, enhances the ability of DAOs and smart contracts, and unlocks an entirely new design space. For AI, crypto solves problems of authenticity and provenance. It increases coordination around open source models and data sets. It helps with bootstrapping compute and data, and it enables creators and agents to participate more directly in post-AI economics. So let's dive into some of the areas and applications we're seeing today to better understand the truly novel areas, starting with creativity. So AI art is not art. It's a common rallying cry for the entrenched against the rise of AI tools. The release of generative models was swiftly met with backlash and protests, such as what was seen on ArtStation here. Yet it sparked some of the most interesting creative subverticals of Web3. AI art comes in many forms. The most well-known are popular generative models, including DALL-E, Stable Diffusion, and Midjourney. There are also really interesting Web3 contenders like Imagine AI that seek to provide a vibrant social experience enhanced by tokenomics. However, it goes much deeper than this. Highly regarded AI artists in the space often engineer and fine-tune their models in a way that makes them more unique than easily promptable images. This might entail training new embeddings, or using LoRa's to perfect a certain style, or creating your own model entirely. Popular artists publishing AI art as NFTs today are typically using more sophisticated and personalized models, including Claire Silver, Ivana Tao, Renisto, Van Arman, Anadol, Kogan, and many more. These artists have explored using various NFT marketplaces for distribution, with the most prominent being AI art-dedicated marketplaces like Braindrops, Mirage Gallery, and Fellowship, along with platforms like Bright Moments, which have dedicated live events to the art form. There's also interesting subverticals of AI art that are forming, such as post-photography, seen here. Post-photography was pushed primarily by the Fellowship team, working with Renisto to bring more artists exploring this medium into the space. A lot of the post-photography aesthetic is dedicated to embracing the visual artifacts that are common with early generative tools. In interviewing collectors of any form of AI art, the most common retort from cryptospheres is that the curation by the artist diminishes its interaction with the blockchain, unlike more classical generative art a la art blocks. Fully on-chain AI art is difficult due to constraints in the execution environment and computational complexity of these image-generating models. There's examples of lighter-weight outputs, like Pinder Van Arman's ByteGAN, seen here, which store the images on-chain. But I anticipate off-chain verification mechanisms to be one of the closest available form factors here. For example, Modulus Labs recently partnered with Polychain Monsters to create a ZKML-verified GAN model for producing collectible pixel monsters, which you see there. Using ZK proofs, each generated NFT can be verified as coming from the actual Polychain Monsters art model, which is a huge step forward in provenance. Within fashion and physicals, community curation via token-based governance has also been uniquely explored. For example, Deep Objects used a community curation engine to whittle down 1 million different designs to a single one-of-one NFT piece, which was then 3D printed to showcase generative product creation by a decentralized brand. One of my personal favorite subverticals is decentralized autonomous artists. Bado is the most well-known example here. It's a community-governed generative artist that produces 350 art pieces a week. The community of the DAO votes on their favorites, Over time, this fine-tunes this model with the aesthetic choices of the community, and the top piece is minted and sold on Super Rare. The revenues for these sold pieces accrue back to the DAO as well. It's actually one of the highest grossing artists on Super Rare today, and has amassed his own collector DAO as well, called Cyborg DAO. Holly Herndon, also seen here, is an innovator in publicly available voice models. She allowed her community to create and distribute works and audios using her own AI voice. A DAO oversees the voice model, and token holders receive ongoing profits from the resale of those works. Some quick notes on what seems inevitable here. Many will likely be familiar with the Drake AI release from Ghostwriter. Within 2 days, it hit 20 million streams and was promptly taken down by UMG. The phenomenon, however, brought awareness that the relationship between the artist and the work itself is changing. In addition, it's inevitable that generative content will outpace human-created content in the short term. Boomy, a generative music startup founded in late 2018, saw its users create 14% of the world's recorded music in that short period of time. Given generative content will outpace human-created work, and artists will likely be separated from the work, artists will need authenticity verification. So with deepfakes, chatbots, generative spam, soon it'll be crucial to verify who's a human online. Web3's put a lot of effort into preventing Sybils, albeit still largely unsolved. However, reputation systems, proof of personhood, user passports, soulbound NFTs, and more are all being developed to fix this. While there are a myriad of projects focusing on proof of personhood, one of the most interesting applications comes from WorldCoin. WorldCoin uses AI models to convert iris scans into short hashes that are easy to cross-check for similarity. Because every iris is unique, the model is able to determine the user is actually a unique human being. Outside of personhood verification, we have verification of off-chain model inferences. Model inference verification is going to be important if we want to plug in inferences into smart contracts on-chain. At a high level, there's multiple teams, such as Modulus Labs, Ezekiel, Giza, and many more focused on proving the inference of a model using ZK. There are also new advances in OPML, or optimistic ML, spearheaded by the Aura protocol team, which executes inferences optimistically, but can fall back to ZK to prove steps within the computation probabilistically. On the flip side of verification is just embracing deepfakes entirely. Some influencers have elected to create chatbots to engage their audiences. This is Karen Marjorie here, who launched an AI girlfriend product using her voice, trained on thousands of hours of her YouTube videos. Users pay $1 per minute to talk with their avatar in a private Telegram channel. In the first week of launch, she made $72,000, and it's expected that she could earn upwards of $5 million a month based on her current subscription growth. Which leads us into AI companionship. 79% of adults aged 18 to 24 report feeling lonely. 42% report always feeling left out. 63% of men under 30 describe themselves as single, and only 21% of those said they received emotional support from a friend within the past week. People are lonely, and in an era where loneliness is a growing epidemic, the emergence of AI companionship offers a unique, albeit slightly dystopian solution. The infrastructure to do this is here. You fine-tune a model with a personality prompt. You run it through a vocal model like 11 Labs. You generate selfies on request using an image generator model. You could create a VRM avatar and place it into an interactable environment. You now have a perfect for you transmedia companion. Add crypto rails and you make the companion ownable, tradable, rentable, and more. Some attempts have taken place in Web3 to make these companionship experiences, such as Belonging Hearts, Moimate from Webverse, MyShell, and Imagine AI. Ultimately, the potential for tokenomics abound here. I could see tokenizing APIs, tradable personality prompts, on-chain in-game currencies, agent-to-agent payments, tradable cosmetics, gotcha mechanisms, and much more. There are also cool user flows here. One of my favorite examples being Belonging Hearts, which had a whitelisting for their NFT, where users had to chat up their AI girlfriend to get her phone number to be allowed listed. This also leads to another open question. With many of the top models being restricted around NSW content, viable open source models need to be created, which is a good opportunity for token-based crowdfunding and governance. Which leads us to DAOs. Everyone by now understands the challenges with DAOs and voting. Experimentation in using AI as an augmentation layer for DAOs is still early, but its potential impact's pretty profound. Most common forms using highly trained LLMs to help direct labor capital within the DAO to effective causes, identify issues with proposals, and generally open up broader participation in both contributions and voting. One case study here is Upstreet. They took a multi-agent system like those popularized by AutoGPT and applied it to their governance process as an early experiment. Each agent is defined as a subgroup of the DAO, such as artist, developer, BD, PR, etc. These agents are then tasked with analyzing a proposal from a contributor, debating amongst themselves the pros and cons, and then scoring it relative to their division. Human contributors can then evaluate this discussion, ask further questions, and ultimately vote on the outcome. There's also Autonomous. Autonomous had created this Governator project where you could delegate tokens to the Governator, an AI agent, and so you're delegating your voting power within the DAO to this agent. Delegators could elect the agent to have vote with a moral affinity, such as good or evil, and then the service analyzes forums for active votes and executes the votes according to the user's preferences. Next is gaming, an area I'm particularly excited about. It's always worth briefly mentioning the academic piece by researchers at Stanford and Google, which demonstrated that if you put multiple agents into a game environment and have them interact with each other, they exhibit behaviors beyond what their normal capacities are. This research has been pretty explored so far as a game loop. Parallel Colony is one of the most famous examples of this. They have AI agents gather resources and tokens in a game for the player. Using 6551 token bound standard, these agents are also NFT wallets that can transact in-game on behalf of the user. Most fascinating of the AI agent-based games conceptually from me is Upstreet again. Upstreet is a virtual world project that has an AI agents SDK, procedural generative questing, browser and VR integrations, and more. Alongside players will be AI agents that developers and players that aren't technical via user-friendly marketplace that they can deploy with personalities and goals that impact the game environment. Here you can see a ported over NFT acting as an AI agent in Upstreet. Some other areas to explore include generative tools for virtual world environments. This solves one of the core challenges in quote-unquote metaverse projects, which is a lack of engaging UGC experiences. There's also gameplay around training loops. AI Arena is the most novel take on this, having players play a Super Smash Bros. Style game to slowly teach an AI agent to compete in the game via imitation training. Because the agent needs no breaks, it can infinitely play competitive tournaments for prizes and tokens against an always active competitor pool. We've also seen large-scale cooperative gameplay by humans against a strong AI player, which Modulus Labs did with Leela versus the World. They took the Leela chess engine and improved its outputs via ZK circuit. Players would then put up capital to vote on a human move to play against the AI, providing a creative prediction market around the outcome of the game. Crypto infrastructure here for AI warrants an entire talk unto itself, but I'll just quickly go through some of the ideas we're seeing taking shape. To understand the need for crypto economic systems here, it's important to understand the core problem. GPU capacity is extremely bottlenecked to date, with the best available hardware, such as the H100, seeing long wait times extending up to a year out. So we're at a time where startups are raising huge rounds to acquire hardware, governments are scrambling to create their own clusters for national defense purposes, and even the most well-funded teams like OpenAI having to pause feature releases because of limited compute capacity. So with entrenched Web 2 compute providers only getting bigger, limitations being set on cluster size, increased regulations on model size, censorship of foundational models by private companies, and required reporting for AI developers in the works, decentralized crypto rails could save AI. Most obvious infrastructure here is distributed computing clusters. You can use crypto incentives and better peer-to-peer margins to make these networks highly competitive on pricing versus Web 2 counterparts, while simultaneously providing a better reward profile for hardware suppliers. We've seen generalized compute networks like Render and Akash turn towards servicing some of these specialized compute, like AI and ML. Render, for example, has IONET building on top to directly serve AI customers. Suppliers like Akash have begun looking at incentives to bring on more in-demand hardware. And LivePeer, which is famous for video transcoding, is also targeting AI video compute. In addition, networks are now forming that target AI compute specifically, recognizing that core challenges around orchestration and verification can be solved more directly by building an entire chain or model around the AI training. Jensen's one of the most notable examples here, building a substrate-based L1 designed for AI model training. Although the Jensen network's not yet live, the team predicts the hourly cost for a V100 equivalent GPU on the network could be around 40 cents. It's also worth noting that decentralized data stores like Filecoin and Arweave, along with databases like Space and Time, could play a significant role on the data preprocessing side. And federated learning, where multiple parties train a model independently, is being tackled by Web3 projects like FedML and Flock. Another novel form of infrastructure around inference using blockchains is consensus-based ML. BitTensor is probably the most prominent example of this, also a substrate-based L1 designed to improve machine learning efficiency through application-specific subnets. Each subnet has its own incentive system to service various use cases. What's particularly cool here is that miners earn tau, the native token, by providing inferences that are rated by verifiers. Since miners are incentivized for the best outputs, they theoretically should consistently improve their models to remain competitive, which results in a faster learning process coordinated by tokenomics. One of my favorite areas of infrastructure is AI agent economies. There's a vision for the world in which everyone has their own agent, hires high quality and finely trained agents for services, or have autonomous agents fulfilling objectives in a complex online economy on behalf of a user. In order to do this, it's vital that agents have a way to pay for and receive payments for their services. It's definitely possible that traditional fiat rails open up for these agents, but I think a more likely outcome is that they'll transact in crypto given its ease of use, speed of settlement, and permissionless nature. Autonomous, Algovera, and Dane are examples of projects working in this field. The list goes on as well. We have vector databases from BeagleDB, wallets for API keys from Window AI, indexing and searching tools like Cato. Modulus Labs build a verification dashboard like Block Explorer for AI inferences. You have development co-pilots like what Dune's built for SQL queries. And cool things like bandwidth for data scraping from Grass Network, or BioML tools for protein folding by LabDAO. All in all, though, AI and crypto are synergistic. Both have leaned into open source, pushed back against regulations, and are creating some of the largest wealth transfers in history. They need each other, each solving one another's core challenges. The challenge now is for crypto hackers, teams, and projects to understand the transition and embrace it. Creativity is now unbounded, and we're sitting at the intersection of it all. Thanks so much for listening to this keynote. I'll be around today to discuss these ideas. Sorry again for information overload. I know it was a lot, but hopefully the following talks today kind of drill down into these areas for everyone a bit further. Thank you.